Hi, my name is Robin Werner, and I will be presenting on John Dewey and the progressive era and the impact on education. This is what will be covered in this presentation. So, looking at the progressive era, educational shifts, and then Dewey's impact on education. So, first, I want to start off with an overall understanding of the progressive era and how society was changing at this time. So, post industrial era, where many children were working as young as 5 or 6 years old for many hours in factories, there was a movement for reform so that children's education could be focused on. Also, during this time, the United States was entering World War One, which had a major impact on nationalism, a growing economy, and more government regulations, which were also part of many of these reforms. And with that, women were working to make ends meet while men were at war. So this leveraged their right for women's suffrage and for to increase their rights in society. So overall, during this time, there was a shift in mindset to what was being prioritized and being more inclusive of all people. So, some specific educational shifts were that overall schools should be more standardized and expanded to all, particularly urban areas, and that it was a tool for this reform that I previously mentioned. The curriculum should be more practical, which introduced vocational education and also democratic citizenship of those values. Um, Ultimately, there was a shift to do more student centered practices. And in some cases, there were even compulsory laws for students to attend school. So, John Dewey was a well known educator and philosopher who was born in 1859. He studied at the University of Vermont and Johns Hopkins and taught at the University of Michigan and Chicago after a very brief career in elementary and secondary education. He is world renowned with over 40 books and 700 articles that are still cited today. His philosophy of education was that students should learn by doing. He believed in pragmatism, that there was active problem solving, that students learned through experiences that were connected to their life. He saw that nature should also be experienced, and there was this intersection for learning and intelligence. And his values and theories were also running parallel with other educational theorists, such as Maslow's hierarchy, his hierarchy of students' needs. Dewey felt that it was important for the well-being of children to be included in an education as a priority. And this aligns with Maslow's beliefs in students needing a safe, welcoming environment and having all of their needs met before they could learn. Ultimately, Dewey felt that schools should be a microcosm where they fostered pluralistic democracy, and that this was preparing students for a world of multiple perspectives that they could be productive members of society. The laboratory is one of his most well known contributions to education. And it was developed at the University of Chicago as an opportunity for him to test his theories. It still runs today, although it is in two campuses that are much larger with multiple schools. But this was his attempt to testing his theories to practice and also attempting to unify schooling. I thought it was notable to include that at the lab, the high school offers over 150 classes and 40 extracurriculars, which really highlights Dewey's belief in meeting students' needs and providing options and experiences for students based off of their trajectory in life. Now, Dewey's work did not come without criticism. He was criticized by well known traditionalist religious leaders. Notably, William Bagley was an educator who feared that Dewey's student centered, democratic views of education would result in a loss of rigor if traditional classroom values are lost. And the minister, Reinhold Niebuhr, feared that his views of humans was too optimistic and that it was short sighted in understanding the flaws of sinful humans. But today, Dewey's impact still lives on. He is one of the fathers of the progressive educational movement that is still valued today. For example, educational leaders still value interdisciplinary curriculum, fostering student dialogue, and student centered practices. These are all valued today and stem from Dewey's theories. And finally, I wanted to include that the Charlotte Danielson model is a model that we use in our district for evaluating teachers. And I found a lot of parallels with that evaluation system and the Danielson model and Dewey's work, particularly the role of the teacher as a facilitator, fostering engagement through experiences and hands on learning, and developing classrooms with a positive learning environment where students feel safe and are more willing to take a chance. And finally, having a data driven system for meeting students' individual needs. So, one could definitely make the argument that Dewey's impact still lives on today, even though his work is over 100 years old. He's still valued as one of the most influential educators and philosophers in education. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.